I'm Jim Manning, author of Patriotism Unhinged, available worldwide through online retailers and audiobooks. Today we're going to talk about something a little different. A lot of people, I say a lot, I've had about 10 requests for any knowledge about the RFK assassination. I don't hold myself out as a wizard on all assassinations, but sometimes when you do this thing for a living, there's no way that the subject doesn't run into another subject. And of course, with the Kennedys, that happens almost in everything that you do. So with that, I can tell you what my beliefs are. They're pretty solid. The Robert Kennedy assassination, Lisa Pease, who has studied the assassination probably better than anybody, wrote a book. She believes that the CIA was behind it. I, on the other hand, believe that the information given to Gregory Douglas by Robert Turnbull Crowley of the CIA indicated that the CIA was in charge of the Kennedy assassination, but Robert Kennedy and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was handled by the FBI. Now, that doesn't mean that the CIA wasn't complicit in it. It just means that J. Edgar Hoover was calling the shots. With that difference, I agree with almost everything Lisa has come up with. I believe that Sirhan Sirhan was the product of a number of years that the Central Intelligence Agency worked on psychological sets that in one way or another they could control people. MK Ultra was one of them, different types of drugs, hypnotism, probably every considered opportunity to bend the mind is something that they tried. And I believe that they had a great subject in Sirhan Sirhan. He was guilty of shooting his gun eight times. However, that was all that was in the gun, was 8 bullets. 6 of them hit human beings, and one of those human beings was Mr. Kennedy, and 3 of them hit him. One went through his sport jacket, one went through his into his chest, and one was the kill shot. Thomas Noguchi, the famous coroner from Los Angeles, said that it may have been a contact wound, but it was certainly no further away than 3 inches. We have a problem because there was never a time that Sirhan Sirhan was behind him. There was never a time when Sirhan Sirhan was behind Robert Kennedy, and Robert Kennedy was shot from behind 3 times. The second problem is, if you added those up, that's 6, 7, 8. That's 8 shots in 6 people. And that leaves no shots for the other bullets that were found in casings and in the ceiling. So everybody knows there were 13 shots in the pantry that evening. There was no way that he could have reloaded the gun. I think his first shot that he shot at Mr. Kennedy hit Paul Shade, a very close associate of Robert Kennedy, who was leading him down through the pantry. And the other person leading him down through the pantry was a man named Thane Eugene Caesar. He had Kennedy's elbow. He was walking behind him. And when the shooting started, he admitted to pulling out his gun. Everything was over by the time they got to him. And he had been able to get out of there and maybe change guns. There was no way they could be sure. And he said he had a .38. Researchers found that he had purchased a few years before that a .22 that would have matched the .22 shells that Sirhan started with. The CIA at one time wanted to kill Castro with some sort of an agent. They got this doctor who was associated with them named Ochsner, who was a specialist, I believe, in cancer. He had a huge practice in, I believe, Louisiana. He was the head of it, but there was another doctor, a lady named Mary Sherman. She was also very active in it. Lee Harvey Oswald's girlfriend had been studying medicine, and Ochsner was sort of her mentor. And so she got into this group along with David Ferry and Oswald. They were trying to develop a quick way to give somebody cancer. Not to get too boring. They collected mice, and they would kill the mice, and they would extract something from one of their innards, like say it was a kidney or something. That stuff, along with other things that they had mixed with it, they could inject somebody with that, and within about a month, they would be dead, as long as they were going back to be x-rayed. The x-ray metastasizes the cancer at an accelerated pace, and that's the reason that most events occur a death within about a month. If they were in a hospital and they were being x-rayed every couple of days, whatever, they might die in 2 weeks. In the case of Jack Ruby, he may have decided that he didn't want to be in jail the rest of his life and arranged to have that because his cancer death was rather quick. That was one thing. Another thing that they did was they were working on, not that group, but the CIA was working on an agent that could be administered to somebody. Within hours, they would have a heart attack. Now, that heart attack couldn't be traced in any way to the substance that was given to them. It was just a heart attack and they're gone. Thane Eugene Caesar worked for Howard Hughes, the magnate. He and a fellow by the name of Robert Mayhew, he worked with him too. And both Hughes and Mayhew were extremely tight with the Central Intelligence Agency. Mayhew associated the agency with Johnny Roselli with the idea that they could use the mafia to make some hits rather than do it themselves. And the first one was going to be on Castro. And of course, there was a number of idiotic attempts, blowing up cigars and stuff like that. Nobody lived through more idiotic attempts to kill them than he did. Caesar worked for Mayhew, and one of his operational things that the CIA would parcel out to him to do. That way the CIA couldn't be connected to it. And they did a lot of assassinations and a lot of really horrible things that can't be traced back to the agency. At my last reading, Mayhew was 90 years old and still living in Las Vegas, Nevada. And him and his son have, I think, as many as 60 companies worldwide that do this kind of work all over the world. So his association with a man who had a close association with the mafia and the CIA wakes people up to the fact that he wasn't just a guy from Ace Services wearing a uniform. He was only in that for a week before he apparently killed Kennedy. Robert Kennedy made a connection with Caesar before he died. He agreed to see Robert Kennedy. Robert Kennedy was going to go to the Philippines. He wanted $25,000 to talk to Robert Kennedy, so Robert Kennedy decided not to go. Robert Kennedy Jr. believes wholeheartedly that Thane, Eugene, Caesar was the murderer of his father. And so do I. And I think most of the researchers would agree. You might find arguments against it, but I can guarantee you, if you could get to the bottom of it, it would be an intelligence agency writing up some kind of a story to throw you off. I think that JFK and RFK, backed by Joe Kennedy, rather thought they were invincible. Of course, they found out with Jack being killed that they weren't. But I think one of the motivating factors for Robert Kennedy to run was that if he would win, that he could bring the truth out. After the assassination, only Jack Kennedy was killed. Now, the so-called traitorous acts were done by both of them. And so LBJ, the new president, told them that they better wait a while to take Robert out because he didn't think the country was going to stand still for two Kennedys being killed right together. And so that's why they waited for a while and probably may not have even done it because he wasn't even going to be in the government at all, except that he's still alive and may cause a lot of trouble for them. J. Edgar Hoover might have said to them, well, we could take care of that. They knew that he could because he was a person who was able to cover it up. RFK knew that the Central Intelligence Agency was behind his brother's death. And they knew that if he got in, he'd tear it apart, just like Jack was going to do. Jack said he'd tear it into about 10,000 pieces, I think. They couldn't have that happen, so they waited for LBJ, asked them to wait, and they waited. But they would have never let him become president. But there has been books written now, and there are people who say that the Chappaquiddick event with Ted Kennedy is questionable. Two people, now I don't want to mention their names because I'm studying it now, but two people that everybody would know were in an adjoining town to Chappaquiddick. What they would be doing there, I can't think of too many reasons except hurting the Kennedys. Whatever they did, it worked because he was never able to run for presidency after that. So basically, you've seen what happened to JFK, and now you know a little bit more about what happened to Robert Kennedy. And we don't know yet about the Ted Kennedy deal. And there's a book out now that says that John Kennedy Jr. is being investigated. So the Kennedys have really taken a bath by this country. They paid for trying to better the American government. The deep state would not let them do it. And the deep state is keeping you from doing it. And that should concern all of us.